All right, so welcome to Math 126. This is the sort of introductory video to the course. So my name is Mike Deal, and I will be your professor and the sort of guide through this semester. Um, and in this video, I'll mostly just be showing you the Canvas page, which is what you're looking at right now, showing you how to register for the book, or what I should say, maybe what the book is, ebook and homework system are like, and just to sort of in general go over the syllabus and expectations for the semester. So after you finish this video, you should be all set to begin the class. Which will mostly be out of Canvas, which this is our Canvas page or something that looks sort of like this at least. The material is sort of divided into weeks and into modules, so I think this should be the home screen for you, but if your screen doesn't look like this when you go to our course, if you hit modules down here, it should turn into this, hopefully. And each module or each week has obviously sort of a topic and then generally a few things for you to look at and work on. The whole course is posted from the start of the semester, so you can kind of self-pace and work ahead if you want. But anyway, first things first. Let me just go over the syllabus real quickly. So that's the first link right here, which I think I already opened down here. Yep. So if you open the syllabus, it should hopefully look like this. Right, so this is our course, Math 126, which is called Applied Statistics, which is pretty much just a general introduction to statistics course. There's obviously no assumption that you know anything about statistics at the moment. Really just sort of general math skills and general computer skills are pretty much all you need for the course. Of course, the course is online, fully online, and our dates for the semester are September 12th through November 6th, which you'll see those dates when we flip back over to Canvas. Will sort of represent, for the most part, the starting point and ending point of the material that's due for our course as well. So my information is here. I teach math and computer science in the sort of day school, the undergraduate college here at Endicott. So I physically am on campus, teaching my other courses. In addition to this online course for the Van Loan School. So I do have an office and phone, but probably the best way to get in contact with me is to just send me an email if you need anything. Like I said, I am around, but probably most of you, if you wanted to come to campus, or if you were on campus, you would have taken an in-person class, and you probably are taking this in the online format since you don't want to have to do that. Which is reasonable. So please feel free to just send me an email if you have any questions about the course or about the material or anything like that. It better to not call me. I'm sort of in and out of the office, so probably you won't catch me. But do please send me an email if you have any questions. So this course, like I said, is just a general introduction to statistics. And statistics is a pretty useful field in a lot of professions and even just in life. There certainly is an abundance of data coming at us every day, and certainly being able to understand the basics of that and work with it would be a valuable skill either in your future studies. I know a lot of students for senior thesis, especially if you're in social science or other education or other related areas, typically do statistical work for their thesis. And so this is sort of the foundational course. If that applies to you, you may have, or in the future, will take a research methods course, which kind of builds on some of this stuff. This is the kind of foundation for the stuff that you might learn in there. Which again is all sort of getting you trained to do basic research and understand how to use data to say something and to say it meaningfully. So anyway, so there's a list of topics here that we will go through. Most of these probably don't sound terribly familiar right now, and that's all right. And there's some learning outcomes there as well. But let me get to the more important things here. We will use an ebook, so there's no physical textbook for the course, but there is an ebook, which I'll show you in a few minutes. And the ebook here is bundled with what's called My Stat Lab, which is an online homework system, and that's where you're going to complete all of the homework assignments for this course. And that's also, and I'll show you this in a few minutes, that's also where you'll access the ebook, which you won't really use all that often. For the first chapter, I'm having you read the ebook, but then after that, I've made lecture videos that are sort of more personalized and that should explain everything you need for the course. But the book is there, and the ebook is there, and you'll have full access to it. The cost is about the same whether you get the ebook or not, so that's why I always just throw it in, since it's like $1 extra or something like that. So anyway, I think the whole thing costs, it used to be about $100, maybe it's a little more than that now, 110 or something like that. So all in all, not a bad deal. So I'll show you that in a few minutes. Aside from the ebook and this online homework system, the only other things that you should think about is you should have access to Excel, to Microsoft Excel, on some machine, on a laptop, on a computer, either at home or at work or wherever you might be doing your work for this course. And we'll largely be using Excel just more or less as a super calculator so that we don't have to really do a whole lot of math. Sort of by hand or even on a calculator. Excel will be able to do most of the computations with just a few, keystrokes and commands. So, and I'll be showing you how to do all of that. So, so you do need access to Excel. If you don't have it already on your machine, you can purchase Excel. Or purchase Microsoft Office, which of course includes some other things. You can, if you don't have it and you're not looking to purchase it, you can use the computers in either our library if you're local, or wherever you are. Most libraries have the Microsoft Office package installed, so but it's probably worth your time. We're going to use Excel for just about every unit or every chapter. There will be some things that you need to do in Excel, so it's probably worth your while to get it. It's also pretty standard in the business world especially, but a lot of companies use Excel. So anyhow, so do find access to that. And the other couple of things you might want to get your hands on is just a simple calculator. You can even just use the one on your cell phone for the most part, just for simple computations. I mean, in Excel, you can do, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, but it's a little overkill sometimes. You might just want a simple little calculator just for simple computations. And the only other thing that I recommend you get is just a notebook, just a regular sort of paper notebook, or at least just have paper that you are using to take notes from the lectures. Most of you have probably taken online courses before, but I think that if you haven't, and even if you have, my best advice is that when you're watching the lecture videos, it really is just like being in class. And so I would say the best thing you should be doing is taking notes like you would in class. And that even though you can look stuff up later and rewatch videos, I think until you kind of internalize it with notes, you may not totally understand everything. So anyway, that's my advice to you, is that you get a notebook for this course. As I mentioned, the lectures for the course are video lectures, which are basically just me doing a voiceover, kind of like you're seeing or listening to right now, me doing a voiceover of PowerPoint slides which contain the material. And for many of them, I've recorded the videos on a tablet, so I also am inking or writing on the screen, which you'll also be able to see. as we go through problems and whatnot. So it's pretty good. I think it's, I mean, not that the videos are all that entertaining, but it's a pretty good approximation of what it's like to be in the regular class. So the videos are all on in Canvas, and they play in Canvas. I'll show you when we go back over to Canvas. They're just YouTube videos, actually, or I've uploaded them to YouTube. So you can do all the usual things that you can do in YouTube with the videos. Right. And I will just point out that the textbook, the ebook, also has videos, which you're welcome to watch, but those aren't the videos that I'm talking about. The videos that I will be referring you to, the lecture videos, are all in Canvas. Okay, so don't worry about the other videos that you might see in my stat lab. But again, you are welcome to watch them if you find them helpful. Your grade in the course is pretty simple. We'll have 2 exams. We'll have a midterm and a final, and that's 3/4 of your grade, and then the homework that you'll be doing every week is the other quarter. So it's a pretty simple formula here. This is a fully online 7 or 8 weeks, depends on how you sort of count it, course. So we really only have time for 2 exams, and so they are each worth a significant portion of your grade. But well, I'll say more about those in a minute. But first, homework. So the homework will be in this website or environment called My Stat Lab, which is an online homework system. Most of the questions that you see there will either be multiple choice or fill in the blanks, usually with a number, which is a computation that you've done. The system is kind of generous, I think, in that if you try to answer a question and you get it wrong, it'll usually give you at least some sort of hint or piece of advice. Sometimes it's helpful, sometimes it's not. And then it'll let you try again. And the way that I've set up the system is that if you try the problem, and you try it a couple of times and you get it wrong, it'll basically mark it wrong, and obviously won't give you credit for it. But you always have the option to request a similar problem, I think is more or less what it says. And that'll generate basically a new version of the same problem, basically just with different numbers. And it'll let you try the problem all over again. So you do have opportunities to redo problems as many times as you want until you get it right. So which I think is good for the, for this type of a course, that you can keep trying and trying on your own, since for the most part you're not going to be doing this with me or with anybody else. So again, just one other word of caution though, there are lots of things and materials in my stat lab in this interface that we're working with that are not requirements. So you will see lots of, hey, do you want to, chapter 1 test and all these other things. All that is just stuff that's prepackaged with the material. Again, you're welcome to do those things if you want, but they are not requirements for the course, and you won't receive any credit for doing them. But if you want extra practice, there's certainly plenty of things there. On the top, before I finish with homework here, I should say, the homework has due dates, and they're all due Sunday nights, and I'll show you those when we go back over to the homework page. So you do need to complete them on time. You can work ahead, though, so you feel free to complete assignments in advance of their due date. That's fine. But please don't wait until the last minute. This is done in an online environment. If you start the assignment 2 or 3 hours before it's due and have technical issues, or just have questions or whatever, you're going to probably be in trouble because you're not going to finish it in time. And there are no extensions on homework. The entire course is posted on day 1. So if you've got travel plans or other big obstacles, you need to work ahead rather than say, oh gosh, I didn't get to this stuff. Can I have an extension? Because I can tell you right now the answer will be no. So please do make sure you're mindful of due dates. But I made everything is due on Sunday nights, so it's very easy to remember. You have something to do every Sunday night until the end of the semester, and that's it. So, right. Okay, and one last thing about homework. Sorry, I'm going on and on. I did mention, right, that you can keep doing problems over and over again, which is great. But let me do say that the flip side of that is that when you're doing the homework problems, what you should not do is, let me just keep trying this problem over and over again with random things that I'm trying. And eventually I'll probably get the right number and I'll get the points. Sure, and a homework question is worth like 0.01% of your grade in this course. So the fact that you're earning a point in one assignment for doing a problem is almost meaningless. The point of the homework is to give you practice, and you're not really getting practice if you're mostly just randomly trying homework problems. I do sometimes have students who either admit or don't admit, but that they are largely, they maybe skim through the lecture videos and then just try the homework problems, and they sort of guess and check their way through. And I got to tell you, that will almost certainly lead to terrible grades on exams, which are in a different format. And you certainly will not have lots and lots of infinity chances on exam questions. You will have one chance, and that's it. So I just, as a big word of caution to you, while it's nice that I'm sort of letting you redo homework problems until you get them right, what you should really be doing is obviously trying to get it right on the first try. And if you don't get it right on the first try, really stop and think and ask yourself, okay, well, what did I do wrong? Let me rewatch a video. Let me redo, sort of go back and collect myself. And I encourage you to take notes on the things that you get wrong every bit as much as the things you get right. So if I'm doing a homework assignment and there's 20 questions, I would personally do them on paper, just so it's easier to sort of work problems out, I think, on paper. I mean, you're going to enter your answers into the system. And for the ones you get right, great. You've got sort of a worked out way that you did the problem. That's nice. But for the ones you got wrong, I think I would circle those and mark it up and say, okay, I got this wrong. Now I'm going to go figure out what I did wrong and then write the correct thing to do, including all of the steps, not just, oh, the answer was 17. That doesn't really mean anything. Getting the right answer doesn't really mean that you know how to do the problem. So just sort of keep that in mind as you go through the homework. And please feel free to reach out if you have questions about problems. So, okay, enough with the homework. As I mentioned a few minutes ago, the exams will be administered in Canvas. These will be Canvas quizzes, as Canvas likes to call them. Again, hopefully you've taken an online class before and that you've worked with Canvas. But if you haven't, it's no big deal. The exam is just administered through the system. Some of the questions are multiple choice. Some of the questions you'll answer a number. You'll type a number in as your answer. Other questions are free response, in which case you're going to type me, sentences, explanations for things. But in any case, that'll be in Canvas, and I'll show you those when we go back over to the Canvas page. They are timed exams, so you do need to be mindful that picking a time slot that works for you. There is no, everybody's taking it on Sunday at 6 p.m. You can take it whenever you want. There are due dates, of course, but you can take it any time. But they are timed. I think the midterm is 2 hours and the final is 2.5 hours. So you do want to carve out a nice little space of time for yourself to do these two. And you should study. I mean, I'll probably remind you of this during the semester, but if you've ever taken an online class before and been tempted to just say, oh, well, I can look at my notes during the exam, so why do I need to study? Well, those 2 hours will go by very quickly if you're trying to sort of study while you're taking the exam. So I really encourage you to study for these exams the same way you would have studied for any of the hundreds of math exams you've taken in your life. So, but yes, of course, I can't really stop you from using your notes and Excel and things on Canvas during the exam, and that's fine to use those things. Okay, and then just a last word. This is an accelerated online course. In the traditional semester, this is 15 weeks of material, but we've condensed it by about half, so we have 7 or 8 weeks. So you are expected to be working probably 15 to 20 hours a week on average for this course. The college requires 135 to 100, or maybe 145, I should say, hours of work for a 3-credit course. Which works out to be about 15 to 20 hours a week for our time period. So do expect it to have that. Some people they like to do the work in the evenings, maybe after work, or do a couple evenings to try to finish. Other people mostly work on weekends. If you're going to really only work on weekends, my advice would be save the entire weekend. Don't say, oh, Sunday I'll start at 4 o'clock and the homework is due at 11. you won't get through all of the lectures and all of the homework in 5 or 6 hours, for the most part. I mean, some of the weeks there's a little less, and some weeks there's a little bit more, but do please give yourself plenty of time for the course. Okay? And if you can receive any sort of accommodations, extended time probably being the most common, let me know, or I should say let the Center for Teaching and Learning know, and they will forward me your accommodation permission or your accommodation letter, which I can then adjust in Canvas. Okay, so that's more than enough about the syllabus. So back to Canvas for a minute, and then I'll show you my Stat Lab stuff as well. So right, so the material is everything you need is here in Canvas. Let me just click on a typical week. So week 2 maybe. You'll typically see announcements, which these aren't really all that important. I'll usually email you these anyway. But the 3 most important things that you'll see is one link for video lectures. So if you click on that, it'll take you to a bunch of videos, obviously. They are labeled with what section they are. This is section 2.1. And as you can see, the videos are all just embedded here in Canvas, and you can watch them right here. If you prefer, you can, these are YouTube videos, so if you hit play, I'll just hit play for a minute here. You can see it's a YouTube video. You can make it full screen, obviously. You can watch it in YouTube if you'd rather.
Okay, so welcome to...
That's me. You can turn captions on, which some people really actually like to do just for clarity. Everything that you might need that you can do in YouTube, you can do with these videos. Okay, so the videos are all here. It varies from week to week. You know, from 2 to 3 hours of lectures, and some weeks there might be more like 4 or 5 hours worth of videos for you to watch. But remember, a week for us is 2 weeks in a regular semester where a course would meet for 5 or 6 hours. So, okay, so those are the lecture videos. Let me go back a second here. You'll see for each week you'll see slides, and these are just I won't click on this, but if you click on this, you'll just see these are just PowerPoint slides, which are the PowerPoints that I'm voicing over in the videos. You don't really need to look at these, but I've had students in the past say that they like to print out all the slides for the course and then take notes on the slides as we go through them in the videos. So if that applies to you, the slides are here for you. And then the third thing, there isn't really anything for you to do here, but these homework assignments, you're not going to actually be completing anything here in Canvas, but this is just sort of a reminder of what the homework assignment in my Stat Lab is called, I guess. And basically I've just put these here so that basically so that I can enter a grade for you. And these do have due dates, though. So if you are looking for when is everything due, on Canvas is really the only place you need to look. All of the homeworks have due dates, and like I said, these are all Sunday nights, the 16th, the 23rd, and so on. So every homework assignment does have a due date. Those due dates are also in my Stat Lab. And the only other thing, and there are 3 units or 3 weeks of material, 1, 2, 3, and then we have our midterm. And then there are 3 more weeks of material, 1, 2, 3, and then our final exam. And our final exam is mostly just based on the second half material. So, so it's basically sort of 2 halves of the course. For the exams, for both the midterm and the final, down here at the bottom, there's 2 links that you'll see. One is just, as it says here, details and instructions. So if you click on this, you'll get, well, details and instructions for how, what the format of the exam is, how long you have to complete it, 2 hours for the midterm, and so on and so on and so on, and lots of advice about what to do. And then the second link in each of these groups for each exam is the actual exam. So if you click on this, you'll get a little bit of a sort of recap of instructions, but then you'll see something down here. Mine says preview because I'm the instructor, but I think yours says something like take the quiz or go to the quiz or something like that. As soon as you click that, your clock is going to start, which means you need to be ready to take the exam when you say, okay, start the quiz. All right, so so just make sure you don't click that before you're actually ready to take the exam. You do have to take the exams all in one sitting. Like I said, they are timed. So the timer is going to start. I think it actually appears sort of up here in the upper right corner. And it'll count, I think it counts down or counts up, I forget, but it counts down, I think. So you do need to take it all in one sitting. Again, make sure you sort of have all your materials ready to go when you hit start, so you can just complete the exam. So I think that's everything I have to show you on Canvas. So the last thing I'll show you, right, so the syllabus is here. To register for the ebook and the My Stat Lab thing, if you click on this, I won't click on it, but this is just a PDF that gives you very detailed, very easy to follow, step-by-step instructions for how to register for the My Stat Lab. So if you click on that, follow those steps, type in your credit card, etc., you'll have access to My Stat Lab. And My Stat Lab looks like this. So when you log in for the first time, you'll more or less, I think, be taken to a page like this. Mine says instructor homepage, but yours probably says student homepage or something like that. There's a lot of stuff here, so I just got to say, I mean, well, you're welcome to look at whatever's on here, but you really don't need most of what's here. You mostly need homework. So you should have a link over here on the left, or I think it's actually sort of listed here as well, assignments. But wherever you click to go to homework, so I'll click on homework, yours will look something similar to this, I think. And these are the 6 homework assignments. These are the only things that are due for our course. These are the only things you're going to get credit from homework anyway. There are 6 assignments. I think, as I said before, the first 3 constitute the first half of the semester, and then there's a midterm. And then these 3 assignments are the second half of the semester, which will be covered on the final exam. The due dates are the same as the due dates that you see in Canvas. These are Sunday nights at 11 Eastern Time. And if you click on any one of these assignments, I'll just pick a random assignment here, assignment 2, you'll see something similar to this, which is a list of, sort of all of the questions, sort of recaps for you, what is your score right now, when is it due, all that good stuff. Now, unless you're a weird person, you're probably going to start at question 1, but I will be a weird person for a minute here and say that you don't have to. I mean, you probably should, but if you're coming back through maybe a second time, you can click on any question. I'll click on question 10 here. And a little window will pop up, obviously, and the problem is stated here. For the most part, the problems will all fit sort of in one window here. Sometimes there might be more than one part, in which case you might sort of have to do the parts, and then more parts will load, and so on and so on. If there's data for problems, which some of them do have, this says you're going to do some computation, basically, with these 7 numbers. Obviously, you could copy these numbers by hand over into Excel, and that's probably no big deal. If you do see a little, I don't know what you want to call that, icon there, this lets you open this right in Excel. So if you were to have especially a long data set, one that's maybe longer than this one, you can just click right on this, and if you hit open in Excel, I promise it'll open in Excel with these numbers stored. So that's kind of nice. Right, so the typical way these problems work, right, you read the problem, obviously. I would, again, recommend you mostly do these problems on paper, and then come back here when you're ready to enter your answers. So the first question here says, what's the mean, which is the average of these numbers, which I don't actually know what it is, so I'm just going to make something up. So maybe I'll say 10, and if I say check answer, it'll say no. If it's wrong, it'll say no. If it says yes or it says correct, then you're good. And then it tries to give you a little bit of a hint, I guess, right? It says, oh, the mean is the sum of the numbers divided by how many you've got. Okay. So it gives me another chance, though. So I can immediately say, oh, okay, let me go back here. Instead of 10, let me delete that and say, maybe I think it's 9. So I could say check answer. Well, 9 is still not right. And I believe it maybe will give me one more chance here, which I think it's some sort of probably decimal, so maybe I'll try 9.5 instead. And then you can see here it says final check, which I still got it wrong. So if this happened, obviously if at any point in this process you got it right, it would just say, congratulations or whatever, you got it right, and you can move on. But if you keep getting a problem wrong, it'll eventually just tell you what the right answer is. Now, of course, and so this is often... Sometimes this is helpful and sometimes this isn't so helpful because for the most part they're only going to tell you, like in this case they say the answer is 10.7. Okay, well that doesn't really tell me how to do the problem, but maybe just knowing the answer is helpful. But in any case, I look at this and say, okay, gosh, that's not right, okay. So it does let me move on to the next. This question happened to have another part. And as you can see, it left the wrong answer here. It filled in the right answer, 10.7, so we can complete the problem. But I did not get credit for this. That's what the red means. But it does let me move on to the next question, where I'm going to try to guess the answer to this, which is multiple choice. So let me see. Maybe that's the right answer. Okay, good. Right. So if I get a question or part of a question right, it'll say, yay. And then if I hit OK, apparently there's more questions in this question. Okay, let me keep answering random numbers here, which of course is not what you should do, but I wanted to sort of get to the end of this. So let me try that, and let me try that. Okay, so I got that one wrong also, and maybe I think that's right. Okay, and I think, oh gosh, there's even more. Okay, what's the mode? I think this one I can get right off the bat. That's 11.7, I think. Oh, good. I passed the course. And probably does not represent for this reason. Okay, wonderful. So I finished that question. Sorry, I was clicking real fast, but I did finish that question. The last thing I clicked said next question. So this has simply brought me to the next question. Okay, let's say I'm exhausted because I did one question, which I didn't even really get right. And I sort of want to be done with this assignment right now. It does pretty much auto-save, but if you want to be on the safe side, you can always, when you're sort of done working, hit save. And this will save whatever you've done in this sort of session and bring you back out to this screen. Now, and again, this screen is kind of nice because you can look at the entire assignment, which has 23 questions, and it's showing you basically what have you done so far. Obviously, I haven't done really a whole lot yet, but for this one question that we just spent the last 5 minutes on, what this is basically saying is that I got some of the points. So the question was worth 1 point, and I got basically 2/3 of it right, which I think is only because I got some of those multiple choice questions right. So if you, and you can bop around now and go do any problem you want, but when you're finished, if you have things that are wrong or partially wrong, you can go back in and redo any question. So I'm going to click back on this question 10 again. And right now, it's basically just showing me all the work that we just did a few minutes ago, right? So these are my wrong answers, my right answers, my wrong answer, and so on and so on, right? So that's fine, and if I'm happy with this, I don't have to do anything. But if I would like a chance to redo the entire question, now you can't just redo one part of a question, you have to redo the entire one. But if I've sort of seen the error of my ways and think, oh gosh, I know how to do this now, I can say similar question, and if I click on this, it'll basically just generate a brand new, it's the same question, right, but there's just different numbers. And now it lets me try the problem all over again. And I'm not going to do it, but let's say that I got all the parts right this time. It would now say that I have 1 out of 1 point. In other words, it'll give me full credit for doing this problem if I get it right the second time, or the third time, or the fourth time, or whatever. Okay? So I'll just hit save one more time. And if you do ever do what I just did, which is that in my new attempt I got nothing right, and in my last attempt I got at least something right, obviously say save my best score would be the optimal thing to do. And it still gives me that credit that I got before. But it does, like I said, let you go back and retry problems. So please do take advantage of that. It's there for a reason. Okay, so that's the homework. All of the homework assignments more or less work like this. So I won't say anything more about these guys. Eventually, when you're, actually doing the assignments, your scores on the assignments will appear here. I will transfer these scores over to Canvas. Please don't freak out and send me an email that says, I got 100 in my stat lab, but it doesn't show up in Canvas. I know. I will eventually bring them all over to Canvas, I promise. So as long as it says whatever you got here, these will be the scores that I eventually transfer over into Canvas for you. The only other thing I'll show you here in my stat lab is the book, the textbook. You get to that in a bit of a funny way. If you hit chapter contents, it's sort of a funny thing that's how you get to the ebook. But if you hit chapter contents and then any of the chapters, we're going to be doing chapters 1, 2, 5, 6, and 9. So if you click on any chapter, I'll click on chapter 1, for example. The sections are here. There's actually, I think, only 3 sections in chapter 1, section 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. And if you click on any of the sections, I'll just click on this one for some reason, you'll get options. These are videos, and you're welcome to click on this. Now, these aren't my videos. These aren't the videos that I'm expecting you to watch for the course, but they're videos that somebody made that more or less teach you what the material was from that section. So you can click on those if you want, but if you want to get to the book, click on this second link here, View Multimedia eText, which is just a fancy way of saying pull up the actual book, which mine may or may not work, and it doesn't. But yours will work, I promise, because you will have paid for the book, whereas, of course, I didn't pay for it. And so when you click on this, though, you'll get basically what looks almost like a PDF of that chapter, and you can scroll through and read the material just like you would any other paper textbook. Yeah, so you can do that for any of the chapters. For the first week, I am going to have you read sections 1.1, 1.2, and 1.3. None of them are all that long. It's just sort of an overview of terms and statistics and what the field is about and just some background information. So you will have to come in here and read these 3 sections. But beyond that, the other chapters that we're going to do, which is 2, 5, 6, and 9, I've made videos for you, which I showed you in Canvas. So you don't really need to read the ebook for the other sections. And you're welcome to do so. I will just say one word of caution, which is that this textbook sort of presents problem solving, or in other words, it solves problems not necessarily using Excel. So it'll mostly be directing you to use a calculator to try to do computations and use some formulas and things like that. I mean, that's crazy if you ask me. Excel can do all of that in 1 or 2 clicks. So I will say, if you're poking around the ebook and elsewhere here, and you find stuff that's saying, oh, use this chart and compute these crazy things, I mean, you'll get the right answer, but probably the way that I show you in the lecture videos over here on Canvas is probably easier, because I'm showing you how to do everything in Excel, which just makes everybody's lives a lot easier. So anyway, so I think that's about it for the sort of overview. I'll be checking in, usually kind of once a week, just with like a, just a check-in message. How's everything going? Remind you of upcoming things or whatever. But for the most part, the course is very autonomous, and so you are more than welcome to have little to no contact with me directly, and to just sort of march through and do the units as you please. I do always have some students that more or less complete the entire course in a week, or 2 weeks. If that's you, great. You're welcome to go through here as fast as you want. Other people that very much just wait, and do these 1 week at a time, and that's fine as well. But as I mentioned earlier, if you do have travel or other things in your lives that are going to be obstacles, do yourself a favor and work ahead. There aren't any huge holidays, I don't think, in September and October, but if you do have, travel or other things that are going to take you away from your regular life for a week or more, just work ahead and make sure you do everything that was due while you're away before you go, and that way you should be fine. So if you have any questions about anything, please feel free to send me an email. And you're ready to go. So if you the first week, I mean, you've already clicked on this in order to find the video that you've just watched. But right, these are sort of the instructions down here saying read sections 1.1, 2, and 3 in the ebook, which I just showed you how to do, and then go to the homework section of My Stat Lab and do the homework questions. It's a pretty easy assignment, and it's by far the easiest and shortest assignment of the whole semester. So don't let that, don't let that give you a false sense of, oh yeah, this is going to be great. This only took me a couple of hours to do. Most of the rest of everything, the other weeks, everything is much longer and more difficult. Sorry about that. But so anyway, so good luck, and again, let me know if you need anything.